Predicted market now shows Donald Trump leading Ron DeSantis in the 2024 presidential nomination. Though this is just the market and not anything actually official, it still is a rather tidy turn considering how Donald Trump was trailing behind Governor DeSantis. My name is Ralph. Here
I'm
with
Bill.
me is Bill. Our Twitter handles are going to be in the bottom left corner if you want to follow us. And let's get into the discussion of it. So, first things first, Bill, William, who are you going for? Trump,
I,
DeSantis, or are you more of a Tim Scott kind of guy?
I'm gonna right now. I'm thinking I'm gonna vote for DeSantis, and I really think he's got a good chance of actually beating Trump for the nomination, even though he hasn't announced yet.
So that is a thing. He hasn't announced, and he is already polling high. This would be the time to strike while the iron's hot, as to say, especially due to all his successes in Florida. He really does show that he could be a leader that we need to fight the degradation and the degeneracy that we're seeing in our society. But me personally, I have to go for Trump. We saw the prosperity. Trump has already proven he's a capable leader. And as much as me personally, I dislike certain aspects of him, it would just make so much of a better story.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So let me give you my take on why I'm gonna go for DeSantis over Trump. And first, yeah, I see the benefits to Trump. He did an awesome job economically and in foreign policy, and I'll be eternally grateful to him for the three justices he got onto the bench that overturned Roe v. Wade. But he didn't accomplish what he his some of his main promises, such as making a permanent change to the immigration system that would stem the tide of illegal immigration into the United States, such as building the wall or do something like that. Um,
Can you really hold him
DeSantis, I think, has
accountable
a
for that, though? Considering the constant backlash and false flags and fake investigations that he was constantly facing. Can you really blame him when they were tying his hands?
oh yeah, his hands were tied, and he picked a bunch of bad people into his cabinet that were always leaking and working against him.
Yeah.
And of course, the Democrats were working against him as well. But that's the nature of politics. You got to work against it. He tried, he failed. I think maybe it's time to give DeSantis a try because he's been strong on immigration and strong on all the other topics that I liked Trump for.
Yeah, but is there any reason to think that DeSantis will be any different when he gets into if he gets into office? You think they won't tie his hands just as much as they did Trump?
I think DeSantis has shown himself to be more savvy in how he plays the game in politics and may be able to outmaneuver where Trump was a bull in a china shop and actually accomplish some of the things that he's sets out to do. You can see the way Donald Trump just kind of says what he wants to, and he says things and then doesn't follow up and make them happen, like the declassification of documents and other such things.
Well, it's not
DeSantis, I
like he
think,
didn't try to declassify a ton of things. It's just
yeah,
literally
that's
they did a bureaucratic veto and disobeyed his orders. Like,
exactly, exactly. He didn't push it through. He didn't play the game. He didn't accomplish what he set out to. Ron DeSantis has turned Florida from a uh, purple at best state leaning blue into a bright red state because he knows how to play the game and play politics.
well, I don't, me personally, I don't think that's the only reason why Ron was able to flip Florida red. I mean, when you take a look at the path that the Democrat Party is taking, actively engaging in uh, degradation of traditional norms and the attachment to socialism and other just ideologies that traditionally the Latino population in Florida is very against, especially the Cuban population, as a lot of Cuban immigrants in Florida actively ran away from communism and socialism. And with the Democrat Party latching on to that, I feel like that has a big part to play in Florida flipping red.
Oh, the mistakes that the enemy makes definitely matter, but it's not like the leader at the top doesn't have a huge influence on the side. You can't depend on the enemy continually making mistakes, and I think that Ron DeSantis is just a better leader for the Republican Party at the time. At this time, um, what Trump's got is that he would make a great story for him to be president again, a real return of the king story.
And
But
who are you to deny the return of the king?
I just think that Ron DeSantis is the better chess move.
He's definitely the better politician. I'll give you that. Because, as Trump always said, he's not a politician. He's
That's
a.
true, and that was his best. That was one of his best attributes is that he broke the mold. He showed that there is a path forward for the Republican Party that actually cares about the country and not just big large corporations and shipping jobs overseas. Totally changed the Republican Party, and I think Ron DeSantis is the upgrade to that.
I mean, as much as Donald Trump, the mainstream media likes to say he's far right and a right wing extremist, when you take a look at his rhetoric and his policies, he's very centrist. He is almost on every single metric and every single position, such as abortion. He didn't call for a complete abortion ban. He called for a abortion restriction for 14 weeks, I believe it was. Don't
Yeah,
quote.
I think you're making a better argument for DeSantis there. DeSantis
Okay,
DeSantis
mind you,
is
me
perhaps more
personally, I
conservative than Donald Trump.
DeSantis is far more conservative than Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a 1990s Democrat. Uh, the thing is, and the Democrat Party has just gone so far left wing that you can't even see them anymore.
Yeah, Trump is responsible for the bump stock ban, whereas DeSantis made Florida a constitutional carry state, I believe. I'm not totally sure about that, but
Yeah,
honestly, I think he's the better conservative.
but you also have to remember that what strongly appeals to the Republican and the GOP base in DeSantis does not necessarily pull votes over from centrists and even live left and libertarian center and libertarian voters. You might
You
get
may be
someone
right about that,
far
but
more moderate like Donald Trump.
I think you're right about that. But Donald Trump also carries a lot more hate, where people are going to vote against him because they hate him. I think that DeSantis can build on Trump's history and his inroads he's made with ethnic minorities and with blue collar workers throughout the Rust Belt by endorsing those pro America economic policies that Donald Trump pioneered. And I think he can build on Trump's lead, and he doesn't have the hate that Trump does.
Well, the hate that Trump has is purely manufactured just by the mainstream media. And the
That
moment
doesn't
that,
mean it's not real.
yeah, but I'm saying that the hate will just automatically be transferred over to DeSantis. You've already seen the hit pieces coming out, so the amount of hate is a moot point. It's more important just to get the word out of the lies and the slander that it is, you know? Because they're already putting out hate pieces calling Ron DeSantis a bigot, a sexist, a pedophile.
Oh, and that'll happen to any Republican
Yeah.
nominee. But again, we've talked about it. Ron DeSantis is the better. We agreed he's the better politician. So I think he'll be able to maneuver it better than Trump did.
Yeah. There is something to say for the bull in a china shop approach to it, though, of go screw yourself.
Yeah,
It's a real American FU mentality that I personally like.
there's a lot to like about Trump and a lot not to like.
So, clearly, as we're seeing it, though, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, these are the only real viable options for our 2024 candidates for the GOP Republican Party.
Well, you don't think Nikki Haley and
No.
Mike Pence have a shot?
No, I do not. Uh,
So I could see a world where um, a more establishment uh, preferred candidate like Mike Pompeo or Mike Pence or Nikki Haley gets the nomination if Ron DeSantis doesn't run and the GOP takes a lesson from the Democrats and fixes their primary.
so,
So
okay. You have to understand just how fanatical the support for Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump are. So, the major block of the Republican Party, clearly as shown by the predicted markets and by polls we see, they want either Donald Trump or DeSantis because those are the populist candidates. Um, so, with DeSantis, there's no denying he's done a great job in Florida. And personally, I would like to see that translate to a larger scale. But so what I was saying about the little off topic, uh, saying about the fanaticism is, do you really think that the populists would ever vote for someone like Mike Pompeo or another Bush? Like if Jeb Bush came back, when the populist right, as the movement has shifted, has started to detest the establishment GOP, such as uh, Mitch McConnell, with
I'm not saying I think that they would win by popular vote or anything like that, and they may or may not have a chance at winning the presidential election. I'm not even saying that. I just think that um, there's there's a history of dirty tricks, especially in primaries, not so much in the Republican Party, but certainly in the Democrat Party. And
Rip Bernie
the
Sanders.
uniparty, as they call it, may try to tighten on power. I'm not suggesting that's likely, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just saying I see a world in which one of them could pull out ahead if the Republican Party took some lessons from the Democrat Party.
Yeah. So, me personally, I feel ideal ticket is Donald Trump primary and DeSantis as his VP, which still is a possibility considering the fact that DeSantis hasn't announced his bid for election. And if he doesn't do that, that in my mind would tend to think that they're in discussions for a potential running mate situation.
Or DeSantis could drop out, or Trump could drop out, and one could be the VP for the other. I'd vote for that ticket either way
Yeah, I'd feel a little weird about Donald Trump being VP, just
because he's
because,
old.
yeah, the man's got spunk. He's a grandpa with some pizzazz.
Maybe he'd do better as a VP where he doesn't have direct authority except delegated authority, and he can just go be a bull in a china shop talking crap like he does.
That could be actually very hilarious. A VP Donald Trump that gets to just go run rampant. I mean, the big issue though is Donald Trump has stated if he does get back in office, he's going to be firing what was it like 80% of the executive branch, which if you've ever taken a look at just how many worthless tax sucking positions there are there, cough cough ATF. It's definitely something that's needed.
Yeah, that's a definitely good. It makes me want to vote for him if he cut a lot of the government out. Our government is definitely too big and too involved in people's lives, and worked against our last president too much. So his key phrase is "you're fired," but he didn't do it enough.
Yeah, but can you really blame the guy? He came in thinking, okay, I won the election fair and square. Let's try to get work done. And then he got, you know, cheated
No,
back
like
and forth.
I don't blame him, but it is a fact that he failed.
Do you not believe in second chances?
Yeah, there's second chances. Like I said, if he were the nominee, I'd vote for him again.
Yeah. I mean, and if Ron DeSantis was the nominee, I'd vote for him again. Or I'd vote for him, not again. But there is a little bit of a concern I do have because there is no denying there are some completely fanatical Trump supporters because in the 2016 election, he woke up a lot of non voters. He woke up a new voting bloc, you know,
Yep.
that votes for Donald Trump. So it is the question of can Ron DeSantis win without that base? And, you know, is let's be real, Donald Trump can be kind of petty. He might just take his toys and go home, you know, if he loses.
Oh, I would be so sad if that happened.
Yeah.
So you're right that Donald Trump could sink the possibility of a Republican ticket if he didn't get the nomination.
Hmm.
And I pray he isn't that petty.
I'm pretty sure he's that petty.
He might be. You're right.
um, I mean, this is the man that wants to win at many a cost, you know? And it's possible, like, we could see him just take his toys and go home. But, so on that note, though, Governor Nikki Haley, she threw her hat into the race finally, I think, right?
Yeah, she did. She announced.
I mean, I'll be honest, it feels like a weird announcement considering that her political career was just riding on Trump's coattails, but
She's got a shot. Like I said, she's got the. I think she'd do better in the establishment lane than Trump or DeSantis would, and it just depends on how much power the establishment wants to put behind her.
yeah. I definitely feel as though she's a good VP pick for any candidate, you know?
She could be. Yeah, she really could be.
Uh, but the question is, as we see in Fox News, who do Republican women support in the 2024 GOP presidential nomination race?
All right, I
As
haven't read this yet. Do you wanna read it and we can talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Donald Trump and Nikki Haley are so far the only two declared Republican candidates for president. The race for 2024 Republican presidential nominations is just beginning to heat up, but women voters in the GOP are already largely favoring one candidate in particular, former President Donald Trump. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
According to a recent Fox News poll, 40% of Republican women voters would choose to support Trump, giving him nearly double-digit leads over the nearest potential rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Hang on. Why do you think that is? So, if this is true, it means that DeSantis's um, votes come almost entirely from uh,
More
men.
male population, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of weird that men favor DeSantis and women favor Trump. Do you think it's just a matter of Trump's charisma? Do you think it's a matter?
So Trump is very charismatic, but I feel it's more of a aspect of the. So these are housewives that are polling for Trump, right?
Maybe I don't know. I haven't looked at the demographic data.
When you look at Republican women, it's something like 90% are uh, housewives.
Okay.
And with that demographic, we see the people that were hurt most by the current economic strifes we're facing under President Biden is mainly, homeowners, homemakers, these women at home that are going to the store, seeing these absolutely outrageous prices for just the base level things. Like, we were at the store the other day and eggs were almost like $6, $7 a carton. That's absurd. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous. And that's something we see not as drastic, but everywhere else in the store. Prices are constantly going up due to inflation and the actions that this administration are taking. So when you think
Yeah,
back to when were the good times, oh, the good times were under Donald Trump.
yeah, that definitely could be it. Trump could be a known factor and kind of a safe bet for these Republican women.
And
That definitely makes sense.
so, like I was saying earlier at the start, we know Trump will get us back into economic prosperity, get prices down, start drilling that oil, get gas prices. Remember, under Trump, gas was under $2.
I think Trump could. I'm going to pull on that thread a little bit. I think you're right that Trump would be almost certain to bring back prosperity, at least in the short term. And this is off topic, maybe for another discussion at
Hmm.
another date. I don't think Trump has long term fiscal responsibility and ambitions. He does to a little bit of extent with his idea of buying Greenland to expand the United States' economic possibilities. That's a whole nother topic about long term economics.
Yeah. So, like you said, that's a completely different discussion
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
fact of the matter is there has not been a fiscal conservative since the early 1900s.
I I kind of hope DeSantis could be one.
But
Florida's got a budget surplus.
yeah, but every single time I've stopped trying to get my hopes up for a fiscal conservative because every time someone goes and says, let's do this, let's cut the budget, let's get on point, no, and the budget's blown out.
Yep, I'm as disheartened as you are on that, but I don't know. I'm not willing to give up the fight yet.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that I've given up the fight, it's that I realize that the fight is probably never even going to start to happen.
You're
It
okay. Yeah, you're right about that.
because
It's
it's a war call for fiscal conservatives to get support for these candidates. And once they have your support, why would they fix the problem?
Yep, that's a big political problem, and that's kind of a problem with democratic systems in general. Is it's a lot harder to tell people I'm going to take stuff away than to give you free stuff. So budgets, so when Congress is negotiating with each other, when the compromise is usually okay, we'll spend more on what you want and what I want, and so the compromise just blows the budget up more and more.
Yeah. I mean,
That's sad.
personally, I think an easy fix to this is no omnibus packages. Like,
We can agree on that for sure.
yes, every single bill should have to be read on the floor before a vote is held. That
And
simple.
no bill over 70 pages.
Yes.
But we'd both agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
keep going.
So in the poll, Desantis garnered 23% support, and former UN ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley came in at a distant third with 9% support. Former Vice President Mike Pence came out fourth with 8%. I am surprised at that.
Yeah, Mike Pence has totally sunk his political career, I think, by making himself, if he had just stayed neutral and stayed out of it, but
He would have
making
been
himself
fine.
kind of an enemy to Trump, he's sunk his career.
He's tried to endear himself to the GOP establishment, but the GOP establishment is not the powerhouse in the GOP that it once was, you know?
Yeah, I used to love Mike Pence, and then I remember when he posted on his Twitter the his like back page was President Biden being sworn in, and he was so glad President Biden was sworn in. Like, I get that you were mad at Trump for the election and stuff, and the stuff he was pressuring Pence to do. But when he was celebrating Biden, but I was done with him.
Yeah, I mean he was always just a handshake to the GOP establishment. That's why Trump picked him.
I don't think that's true. I think he was maybe a little bit to the establishment, but he was also a olive branch
Evangelicals.
to the evangelical right. Because Donald Trump, when he started, was not popular in the evangelical right for moral reasons,
Yeah,
but now the evangelical right loves him, so he doesn't need a Pence anymore.
no one needs a Pence. Pence can go away.
Okay, yeah. All right,
So
let's
we
keep
agree
going.
on that. So, when Republican women were asked who their second choice would be, DeSantis easily came out on top with 25% support, while Trump and Pence were tied at 13%. So we do see Trump as a major leader in this poll with 40% support for the first place, but DeSantis as the second pick with 25%. So it looks like they're still pretty close because once again we can rule some people out entirely, pretty much. Um, so just like with the predicted market, it does really look like Trump is ahead just barely from DeSantis, is what this poll looks like it's saying, even amongst women, you know?
Yeah, like I said, those are the two top contenders, and it's funny because DeSantis hasn't even announced.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe if he does announce, he'd get a big boost in the polls. I mean,
Yeah, or maybe we're all just maybe I'm crazy and he'll never announce.
I mean, why ruin a good thing? Because any presidential race is going to drag everyone through the mud, you know?
Yep.
He's
If
still young. He could wait another 4 years. Uh, and by that point, Trump, if he wins, will be out of office. If Trump loses again, at that point, he'll be too old to run effectively again, you know?
mhm.
Whereas DeSantis, he's still young. He can still have many a successful time in Florida, which will only boost his ratings and his polling. And by that point in 2028, he would be a dead ringer for president and just absolutely take over even a national poll, you know? Especially if Florida continues to prosper under his lead.
I that's possible. I hope you're right. It's just a little hard to imagine the Republican Party getting uh, three presidential wins in a row. Trump, DeSantis, DeSantis. I mean, it's possible. It happened with Reagan, whereas Reagan, Bush, but I don't think it's likely in today's world.
Yeah, don't get me started ranting about Reagan. I
All right.
know the older generation of GOP and Republicans like Reagan, but that man did way too much for bad for me to like.
I still love him for his foreign policy on domestic policy. Not so much.
Yeah, I didn't like when he was trying to ban guns in California, though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's what I said. Domestic policy, he wasn't very good.
Yep,
Reagan was a hero for his foreign policy.
indeed. So back to the article. Uh,
Hmm.
when the poll asked Republican women who they would support only of the two declared candidates, Trump received an overwhelming 63% to Nikki Haley's 27. Just 1% of respondents said they wouldn't vote, while 7% said they would support someone else, and 3% said they did not know.
Okay.
So, in essence, this is saying Nikki Haley is not a viable option
She's a long shot bet, if at
at
all.
best. And
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like she would be better off, as bad as it sounds. Like, so long as she's not spending too much money on her campaign as is right now. But it's probably good for her in a future political sense to just get her name out there, as a candidate.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And since I assume her people are telling her, yeah, there's no shot in HU double hockey sticks that she has a chance of winning this election. That's purely what this is about, just to get her name out as a potential candidate in future elections.
Like I could see myself voting for her for something.
Yeah,
It's just that she's so overshadowed by DeSantis and Trump's star power that she just can't
yeah.
break into that star power.
I mean, she's liked and she's popular, and I think she did a good job as Speaker of the House, and she's doing good as governor, but not to the same level as DeSantis.
Yep.
Um, let's see. So Republican women were overwhelmingly in agreement when it came to what they thought of President Biden, with 91% giving him the thumbs down on his job performance and just 8% approving. So that is something that's always baffled me, is the small percentage in both the Republican and the Democrat Party. I know it used to be a much larger percentage, but approving of the other party. I guess you'd call them dinos and rhinos, Democrats in name only, and Republicans
Blue
in name
dog
only.
Democrats is what they're sometimes called.
Yeah. But even then, we're starting to see, who was the House of Representatives that straight on switched Republican here the past couple?
Hawaii.
Yeah.
She's on Fox News all the time now.
Oh, no, not Tulsi Gabbard. She's flipped Republican, but she's out of office, I thought.
Yeah, she is.
It was someone back east. James Manson, was it?
Maybe. The Yeah, but you're right. The overlap between the parties is diminishing and people are
Yeah.
being balkanized. And that's a balkanization of the United States is another topic for another day, but it's
Yeah.
something that's got me really concerned.
No doubt. The tensions are definitely flaring up, and they have been ever since 2016. That's
Yeah.
just a matter of fact. But
Balkanization of the United States is one of my great fears.
indeed. But so as right now, as the thing stands, the only choices really are Trump and DeSantis, and we'll have to wait and see. I still think Trump. I will admit you make some really good points about DeSantis, but
Yeah, and like I said, I could definitely see myself voting for Trump again. It's
mhm.
he's
But my
he's
God, is it such a
just good
good
arguments.
story?
It really is. It would be an epic worthy of Tolkien if he became president again.
Who are you to deny the return of the king?
Yes.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, share with your friends, get the word out, and we'll be doing this on a weekly basis. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.